First of all, dear students, I would like to welcome you once more back to the GCE Math panel online, which we are upgrading to the GCE panel online. In this particular correction, we are looking at Littoral Mock 2022. We have already introduced the paper one. If you move to the channel or the online TV, you will see the paper one correction there. And a lot of students have been pressing that we look at the paper two. In this paper, we will be looking at the correction and also be giving you some guidelines on how we should go about answering these questions. And let's not forget that paper two is to be written in 2.5 hours. Please do not sleep during the paper. Now, one very important encouragement is that year after year, every year, they repeat the same questions for the GCE. The GCE does not actually change. They just keep on changing the figures, maybe from 2 to 3, 5 to 10, and so on. And the idea that you have the previous years are very, very important in application to the current year. Let us begin with this first question and we see what I'm saying. So this first question here reads, evaluate 2 3/5 minus 7/8 times 14 on 15. Now, just one thing is required of this question, which is BODMAS. I'm going to show you where students make errors as we solve. So according to the rules of BODMAS, if we look, we start multiplication comes before subtraction, right? So we start by doing this multiplication. That will give us 7/8 times 14 on 15. When we cancel out or simplify, we are going to have 49 on 60. Now, this is the mistake students are going to make. Instead of writing 2 3/5 minus 49 on 60, many students take the answer that they have, this 49 on 60, and say 49 on 60 minus 2 3/5, and that's where they fail. So what you're supposed to do is you have to come back to this position. You're going to replace this 7/8 times 14 on 15, replace it by the value you're going to have, that is by 49 on 50. This is very important. So this will give us 2 3/5 minus 49 on 50. You can convert this to an improper fraction. That will give us 2 times 5, which is 10, plus 3, 13. So we have 13 on 5 minus 49 on 60. The LCM is 60. 60 divided by 5 is 12. 12 times 13 gives us 156. 60 divided by 60 is 1 times 49, 49. So 156 minus 49 gives us this value, which you can leave as 107 on 60, or you convert to a mixed number. Now, the B part of the equation. So given that A equals this and B equals that, as well as C equals 720, find the value of 2AB on C, give me an answer in standard form. There are two things you have to understand here. You first of all have to find the value, then you now write that answer in standard form. The good thing is that if you enter this on some of your calculators, it can give you the answer directly in standard form. Yeah, I know some art students and even some science students who claim to be science students, they'll prefer to do cheap things, eh? But it's very important that you know how to do this, because sometimes the calculators can fail. You should not totally depend on them. So 2AB means 2 times A times B, all of that divided by C. So when you do that division, you are going to have, in your calculators, you are going to have 0.0050 and then 6. 0.005 times and then 6. And when you convert this now to standard form, this is what you're going to have. It's 2 marks. Then question 2 reads, the universal set and its subsets P, Q, and R are such that is a universal set. It ranges from -4 to +4. Now, when you look at this inequality signs, there is another line under. So it is less than or equal to. When you have less than or equal to, means that this -4 is included. And look at it from above, you have less than or equal to 4. It means that the last number there is 4. Why? Because we are working with a set of integers. So we begin from -4 because you have the less than or equal to. Whenever equal to is there, we include that number or that digit. And if it's not there, it means that we either end before, depending on the position, or we end or we start after. Now let us look at it. I'm going to explain more of this, that before or after, in all of these sets. Look at the first set. X is such that we have -2 is strictly less than X and less than or equal to 2. Let us see how we are going to state the elements of this set. X is strictly greater than -2. It means that -2 is not part of this set B. So we have to start from a number after minus 2. The first number after minus 2, which is a whole number because they said integer z, is minus 1. And we have to end at 2. Why are we ending at 2? Because 2 is included. So we have minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. We end at 2. Take note. Then for Q, if you look at the inequalities, we have to begin at minus 3. Why? Negative 3. Why? Because we have x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So the first element is negative 3, and then you have negative 2, negative 1, and see where we are supposed to end. 1 is not an element of this set. The whole number before 1 is the last element, and that whole number before 1 is 0. So we have minus 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. And R is the set. X plus 2 should be strictly greater than 1. So I made a short way that we can do this. We can just solve the inequality x plus 2 strictly greater than 1. And we'll have x to be strictly greater than negative 1. Since x is strictly greater than negative 1, it means the first element of this set is 0 because it's strictly greater than negative 1. So we have 0, 1, 2. But where do we end? The last element of the universal set is 4. So we are supposed to stop at the point where we have 4. Like for most of the students who will just go and they just take just this correction that I have done, they will not be privileged to have part of this. So we have to add 3 here. And what else do we have to add? We are equally going to add 4 because the last element there should be 4. So these are the elements of this set. We have from 0 to 4. And you can test all of that. 4 plus 2 is greater than 1, and or as such, all of them are actually greater than. Okay, that gives us 4 marks. And now we look at the next question, question 3. So with question, okay, there's a B part of it. We have the elements of the set P intersection Q. Let's look at P and Q. P intersection Q. We have negative 1, which is common, and 0, that's also common. So P intersection Q will give us a minus 1 and 0. Okay, question 3 reads, so given the statement, P, James will win the trophy, and Q, James trains very well. Express Q implies and is implied by P in ordinary English. This is what we call a double implication or a biconditional. Okay, so in this case, P implies Q and Q implies P. They all mean the same thing, okay? So if this one is true, then the other one should be true. The other one is true, this one should also be true. So James will win the trophy if and only if he trains well. Okay, so this if and only if is a condition that comes in when you have a biconditional. P, if and only if Q. So James will win the trophy if and only if he trains well. Okay. Now this other sweet part, which is for the truth table, we have to draw the truth table for P implies Q, and I'm going to give you a shortcut here. The truth table for this implication, this is not double implication. It is true whenever both are true. If both are false, it is true. This is the mistake students make when we are marking. If both are false, if P is false and Q is false, the result is true. So whenever both are the same, the result is true. As you can see here, when both are false, we have true. And if both are true, we still have true. Now, whenever the two are opposite and the second is false, then the logic is false. Look, they are opposite, false and true, or true and false. Don't bother yourself, but look at the one that the second one, if the second is false, then the result is false. So with P implies Q, only one of those statements is always false. And it occurs when the second, we have written P before Q, right? So when the second one is false at this position, we're going to have false. And that's just 4 free marks like that for you, or sometimes you're calling free marks, but you have to work for it, of course. Question 4, find the number of regions for a network which has 19 edges and 7 vertices. So we can use Euler's formula to actually work this out. And I have a mnemonic for this, some sort of a shortcut or magic or mafia, whatever you call it in class. We have very red ants. Okay, very red ants. This ant is on its side alone. This very is vertices, red and A is for ants. The last one is where we have +2. Or Euler's formula can equally written using this form. We have vertices plus faces equals edges +2. We can replace faces with regions. Regions and faces are identical, and arcs or edges are identical. So this formula, if you're working with networks, you use the same formula. What they're working with nets or networks, we apply the same formula. So what's the net? A net is like when you open the carton of sugar, right? You open it and open it out. That's what you form. You form a net. And this networks now are just these lines, like this example that we have here. So let's apply this formula to find the value of R. Now, as we know, ants are, or this one with E is always on the right hand side with the +2. So you don't even if you don't know this formula, I know that the arcs or edges always be on the right hand side with +2. You can solve R. So you have 7 vertices plus number of regions equals 19. This is arcs or edges now +2, and R gives us 14. It's up to consider the network in figure 1 below and answer the questions that follow. State the number of all odd nodes and their degrees. We start by looking at a node and what is an odd node or odd vertex. So a node or vertex is odd if the number of arcs linked to it are odd. Let's look at this point. How many lines move to this point? 3. So this is an odd vertex or odd node. At this point is also odd. This one is not odd. Why? Because we have just 2 lines meeting here. So this is an even arc or even node or even vertex, whatever you can call. This is an odd one. So if you look at the odd nodes, there are how many of them are there? You have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 of them. I have labeled them A, B, and C for explanatory purposes. If you use an exam, we're not going to penalize you. Don't bother about that. So I've just lettered them so that I can show the distinction. And they say we should equally give their degrees. The degree refers to the number of lines that are linked. All of them have the same degree, right? For A, there are 3 lines, the degree is 3, C is 3, D is 3, B is 3. I'm not working with E because there's not say anything about an even vertex or node. So if one of them was not 3, then I'm going to specify and write maybe 5 or 7 or any other number, odd number for that particular one. Now they want us to state the number of regions. Many students fail at this point because they'll count these regions and they'll forget that the region out, this area outside is also another region. So this is how we count the number of regions. So this is region 1. Then this other region is number 2. And then this, like a triangle, is number 3. And this region outside is number 4. So there are actually 4 regions. Now state if the network is traversable or not. A network is traversable if you can place, let me say it the simpler way you say it in class, if you can place your pen on your paper and continue to draw until you completely draw it without removing the pen to draw another part. Let's look at this. There's no way for us to draw this thing continuously and get to all the points without carrying the pen. I need to remove the pen to draw this line, right? So since this is not possible, we say this network is not traversable. It's not traversable because you cannot put your pen and draw continuously, all of that. Please, as you watch this video, if you have to motivate us to make more videos for you, what you have to do is, first of all, leave a comment. Comment, is it the video okay? Is there something you don't understand? Are there some videos you would like us to work with? When you leave those comments, it begins to motivate us that people are interested in this work and this is actually what they want. But if you just watch, you don't say anything, or let me say you don't subscribe or you subscribe and you don't click on the notifications, we are never going to know what exactly you want and we might not serve you the way you actually want to. And most importantly, to support this work which we are doing, what you have to do is to share this video. Most of our videos are not online, so for us to get our videos, go to our website, www.gcemathpanel.blogspot.com, and you will get all the videos there. That brings us to the next question. We have a mother shared plums to her 4 children. She gave 12 to Etta, 10 to Free, and twice as many plums to Hannah as Free. While Etta's share was 2/3 of what George had. Determine A, the number of plums given to all the children. So the number of plums should be equal to the number given to Etta plus Free plus Hannah plus George. So for Etta, we had 12. For Free, we had 10. For Hannah, we had twice what Eta received. Eta received 12, sorry. So, and twice as many plums to Hannah as Free. Okay, so Free had 10 plums. So Hannah has twice that number, which is 20. And here, Eta's share was 2/3 of what Josh received. So Eta's share is 2/3 of what Josh received. So we can solve this in two ways. So Eta's share is equal to 2/3 of George's share. And from here, George's share will be equal to 0 and 2e. Or if you just solve for this, you have Eta's share to be 18. This is the point where many students will not have the answer. There are many ways to do it, but I decided to do this one because it shows you exactly how you should get the answer without making an error. So Eta's share directly from the question is equal to 2/3 of George's share. From here, we know that Eta received 12. So 12 should be equal to 2/3 of G. We solve for G and we're going to have 18. We can now get the total number of plums, which is 12 plus this, and so on, all of that. Now, they say we should get the ratio in its lowest term in which the plums were given to Eta, Free, George, and Hannah. This is another point where students are going to make errors or commit errors. Why? Because they're not following the same order in which they listed them above. Look, above we have E, F, H, G. But here is E, F, G, H. So it therefore means that these last two positions, many students will make an error and swap the positions of 18 and 20. And this is where they'll equally have some failures. One funny thing about mathematics is that whatever method you solve, you have an answer. Everybody comes out happy until the results come out. Some people know that their happiness was not actually the correct one. It was fake. And that is when the lamentations come in. And another advice to you, don't watch this video and watch and watch. What you have to do is, as you watch, you have to solve. Solve as many times as possible. The more you solve, the more you gain skills. The GC board is not interested in how much you know in mathematics. They're interested in how much you can write what you know. If you know 100% and write only 20%, you are failed. But the other way around, if you know just small and you can write so much, why not? You can easily make it pass. It will be good to balance the extremes. So this is the ratio: 12 to 10 to 18 to 20. The highest common factor here is 2. So we can just factor it out, or we divide term by 2. And this is what we're going to have. Question 6, the equation 7x minus 19 equals 21 represents a straight line. Find the coordinates of the point where the curve crosses the coordinate axis. The coordinate axes are the x and the y axis. A curve crosses the x-axis when y equals 0. In fact, another name for the y-axis is the line x equals 0. While another name for the x-axis is the line y equals 0. And you see most of this in quadratics. They say that you should find the value of the function or solve the equation f of x equals 0. What they mean there is find the values of x when y is equal to 0. That's what gives us the root of the quadratic or whatever we are solving for using graphs. So here, we start by looking at when x equals 0, because along the coordinate axis, whenever x equals 0, what will be the value of y? We substitute here, we have 0 times 7, which is 0. So 0 minus 9y will just be minus 9y equals 21. And from here, y equals minus 7 and 3. Now, when y equals 0, so we have this point 0, minus 7 and 3, that we call it A, can give numbers and names, capital letters, of course. When y equals 0, we substitute here, we are going to have 7x to be equal to 21 because minus 9 times 0 is 0. 7x minus 0 is 7x equals 21. So x will be equal to 3, and we have the point x is 3, y is 0. Don't make a mistake and write a 0, 3 here. No, this is an ordered pair. It means that x comes before y. Now determine the gradient of the line. If you have, or if you don't have the correct answers to this A part, then you, of course, you cannot have the correct answer to the B part, but you may consider with the method that you have followed. So if this will have a change in y over change in x, that's how we find the gradient of a line. And this gradient should be equal to, I'm starting here with the coordinates of B. So this is the order. So I say 0 minus, there is a minus 7 and 3 here, so 0 minus 7 and 3. And I have to start below again for the x. Since I started here with y, I must start here with x. So all that over 3 minus 0. Why do we have two minus signs here? It's because this coordinate here is minus 7. So 0 minus this minus 7 that is here. So when you simplify, this is going to give us 7 or 9. This place like this, many students now when they get to this point, 7 on 3 divided by 3, they'll say is 7. Be very, very careful with this. So it's 7 or 9. Question 7, it's very important that you watch this video to the end. Stop complaining about data, because here we're equally giving you highlights and some of the possible places where you make errors while solving. If you can identify those errors, then you can better your grades. So, okay. Now, question 7 reads, find the product of this matrix. So to find the product of the matrix, first of all, it is compatible. So we have somebody who asks, why is it compatible? Because the number of columns for the first matrix equals the number of rows for the second matrix. If they are not equal, then multiplication is not possible. I repeat, because the number of columns for the first matrix equals number of rows for the second matrix. So this gives us, we have this position 5 times minus 3 plus minus 4 times minus 1. So row 1 times column 1. 5 times minus 3 plus minus 4 times minus 1. We have most of these videos, we have done a complete preparation for GCE on matrices. You can check the website, the online TV channel. So then for the second one, we have now this one times the second column. So 5 times 2 plus minus 4 times 4. 5 times 2 plus minus 4 times 4, this position. Now we move to row 2. 3 times minus 3 plus 0 times minus 1. So 3 times minus 3 plus 0 times minus 1. And 3 times 2 plus 0 times 4. And this brings us this position. When we simplify, we are going to have minus 11 minus 6 minus 9 plus 6. So that is the product. Now, given that P equals 4, 7 minus x, x, 2 has no inverse, find the possible values of x. Whenever you're told that a matrix has no inverse, it means the determinant is 0. Because any matrix with a 0 determinant has no inverse. So that's the idea we're going to use. So we find the determinant of this matrix. The determinant is the product of this leading diagonal. Product means times or multiplication. So I'm trying to break down all of these terms that we use in class that maybe scare some students away. The leading diagonal is this line like this. The off or reverse diagonal is this other one. So this is the product of the entries along this diagonal line. So 4 times 2 minus the off diagonal. So minus x times 7 minus x. Whenever you have to multiply a number by a difference or a sum, you must use brackets like this. You have to use brackets. Don't forget. So there is no way for me to multiply this without putting brackets. Or I'll first of all say x times 7 plus x times minus x. And then I have to put, no, that's not going to make sense. So it's best to say minus this number times this one, in which since this one is a difference or if it's a sum, we have to put it in brackets while multiplying. So this gives us 8 minus x times 7 minus 7x minus x times minus x minus times minus plus x times x is x squared. So this brings us to a quadratic, and which you can rearrange to have x squared minus 7x plus 8 equals 0. You can solve using the quadratic formula or by factorization. Factorization, you can do it directly in one step. The factors of AC, that when you multiply, you have AC, the same is 8. And such that if you add, you're going to have B. So we have 1 and 8. 1 and 8 is not going to work. What we need is, okay. Okay, we have something like x squared. So when you look at this, we see that there are no possible factors for us to factorize. And this particular case, there is no solution. There is no solution. Another way to look for this is to get b squared minus 4ac. So if you look for your b squared minus 4ac, you see that the determinant is going to be equal to 49 minus 64. And that number is going to be a negative number. Because of that reason, There is no solution. So there is no solution for this particular question. And you have to check with the correction that we have online, because for the paper that we have online, I think this one is there, but the correction has been done on this video. So take note on the PDF of this paper. All right, so this brings us to question 8. Question 8. A circle is inscribed in a square ABCD of side 14 centimeters as in figure 2 below. State the length of the radius. State the length of the radius of the circle. So this one, if you have been told that the sides are 14 centimeters, I mean the sides of this circle, of this square rather, each side is the same as the diameter of this circle. So the radius of this circle should just be, because it touches these corners, right? So this should just be equal to a side divided by 2. And since the solution states, I've not solved, but if you solve, that is going to give you radius is equal to 14 centimeters on 2, which is 7 centimeters. Now calculate the area of the shaded region in the diagram, taking pi equals 22 on 7. The area of this shaded region will be given by the area of the square minus the area of the circle. The area of the square is side times side. That is 14 times 14 minus area of the circle, which is pi times radius times radius. So when we cancel out and simplify, we're going to have 142 squared centimeters or centimeters squared. Number 9, question 9. So given the vectors A equals minus 3i plus 3j's and B equals 2i minus 9j's, find A, the vector A minus B, and state the quadrant in which it is found. So the vector A minus B will be equal to vector A. I put it in brackets before subtracting this other one. I can leave this first one and not put in bracket, but the second one should be in brackets because this minus sign is going to be affected. So we have minus 3i's minus 2i's. So minus 5i, and then 3j minus 9j. 3 minus not separated by number gives us plus. So we're going to have 3j plus 9j, which is 12j. Which of these quadrants do we find this particular number? In this first quadrant, I and j are positive, but our result here is not like that. In this second quadrant here, because this is the first quadrant. Second quadrant, I is negative and j is positive. Yeah, so this vector is in the second quadrant. If everything is negative, it will be in the third quadrant. And if only I is positive, then it's the fourth quadrant. Now, find the magnitude of A minus B, vector A minus B. We already have A minus B, which is minus 5i plus 12j. And the determinant, the modulus or magnitude of a vector is given by the I component squared plus the j component squared, the root of all of that. So we have minus 5 squared, which is plus 25. Students will make a mistake and put minus 25. And they'll have 144 minus 25. It's giving them something else, and they'll end up with some funny values. 12 squared is not 12 times 2. 12 squared means 12 times 12, which is 144. Minus 5 squared does not mean minus 5 times 2, which is minus 10. No, it is minus 5 times minus 5. Be careful with times 2 and to the power 2. So this finally gives us a root of 169, which is 13. Now find the direction of this vector. The direction vector is the angle it makes with the positive x-axis. So direction just means look for tan theta. Our tan theta is called y components on x components. Let me call it now j components on I components. We have 1j, so the j component is 1. And we have root 3i, the I component is root 3. So tan theta is 1 on root 3. And from here, theta will be equal to tan inverse of 1 on root 3. I use a calculator to do all of this, okay? On the calculator, make sure that before you get the angle, please hold your ear as you watch this video. Before you look for this angle, your calculator should be in degree. You will see a small DEG on the calculator. Many students will calculate in radians and they will end up with the wrong answer. And they're being penalized for nothing. So make sure your calculator is in DEG. And how do you look for theta? If you are using the purple calculator, you are going to first of all enter your 1 divided by root 3 and you have an answer. You now press second function tan. It's going to give you 60. If you're using all these other higher calculators, you enter this thing directly. You press shift, that's the first thing, then you press tan, and then you enter this value. It will give you 60 degrees as well. Okay. All right, question 10. Figure 3 shows a type of prism. What is the name of this prism? The name of a prism comes from the end that it has. If the end is a square, it's a rectangle, I'm sorry, it's a square, it's a triangle, it's a trapezium, it's a pentagon, octagon, and so on. So those are the names that we're going to use in describing the prisms. Like this one is a triangular prism because this end is triangular. All right. So if this was some sort of a square or let me say a cuboid, so it's a cuboidal one, right? Rectangular prism. Okay, state the number of faces. This is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. This other one here is phase 4, phase 5. There are 5 phases. Now they want us to calculate to 3 significant figures the volume of the prism, given that the area of the cross-sectional part is 30.8 squared centimeters. So this is the cross-sectional part, this face that we use in describing the prism. So the area of this triangle is a 30.8 centimeters squared. To have the volume of this prism, we just multiply that base area by height. So 30.8 centimeters squared times the height. This is the height, which is, or the length, you want to call it the length, times 9.6 centimeters. And our answer is going to be in cubic centimeters because volume is a cubic dimension. So we have 296 cubic centimeters. That's to 3 significant figures. Because when we work on the calculator, we're going to have 295.68. But the question says to 3 significant figures. The first significant figure is 2 here, because a significant figure is the first known 0 digit. So the first one is the 2. Any other number after the first significant figure is a significant figure. So we have first significant figure, second significant figure, this is the third. We have to end here. But since this number is greater than 5 or 0.5, we round up to 1 and add to this position. That's why we have this value, 296. Question 11, in figure 4 below, O represents the center of the circle. O represents the center of the circle. The center. Find the values of the angle X. You can find angle X here directly, okay? Yes, because this is the angle here at the center. This angle is 2 times the angle at the circumference. This is the angle at the circumference. Look, these things must point in the same direction like this. Can you see this cup? This cup. So C pointing up and C pointing up. So this angle is twice this other angle here. So X will be equal to 128 divided times 2, sorry, to have X. We have 128 times 2. You can use other methods, you have the same answer. Then angle Y equally, let's look at Y. This is angle Y. Now this is the angle at the center. And what is the angle at the circumference? Or instead of doing that, since we already have X to be 256 degrees, all of this forms a circle, and the total angle for a circle is 360 degrees. So X plus Y is 360 degrees, and Y will be equal to 360 degrees minus X. So we have 360 degrees minus 256 degrees, which gives us 104 degrees. Now to find the angle Z, what we are going to do to get the angle Z is, if you look at Y is 2 times Z. So you just divide Y by 2. The angle subtended at the center is twice that at the circumference. Now the C's are pointing down. These angles like this, as they call it, C's. It's not actually C. I'm using the terminology students use in class. So C, C. So Z should be equal to Y on 2, and our Y is 104. That gives us 52 degrees. If you use other longer methods, you have the same result. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share this video, click on the notifications when you subscribe so that as we are doing the corrections, we are immediately notified through email or on YouTube, immediately log in that a new video has been uploaded. And if you check and it's a video that suits you, then you watch. But if you don't click on notifications and you upload a video, you may never even know that some sort of corrections that you're looking for are online. To encourage us as we do these corrections online, what you have to do is You have to leave your comments. This video was good. This video is good. We need more of this. I have difficulty in this area. Please do this other one. That's going to motivate us to know that people are actually interested in this. And we know exactly the area in which you are lagging, so we see how we can serve you. For example, we did not want to do this paper 2, but many students have been pressing that they need this correction. So that's why it didn't carry out. Don't forget to share our videos and to invite others to get to us. Always visit our blog because there are so many videos on our blog which we have not put online. gcemathspanel.blogspot.com. That's where we have most of our videos, which we are equally upgrading to gcepanel.com in some time to come. Question 12 here, from a point A that is 40 meters due east of the vertical pole PR. So I've drawn the diagrams that is clear. From a point A, which is 40 meters due east. Okay, of a vertical pole PR. So as the question reads normally, though this is not really going to affect the results, but the diagram is preferably supposed to be this way. Yeah, it's supposed to preferably be this way. Okay. Right. So here we have from this point, we have to find 1 decimal place the height of the pole PR. So we have drawn it, and this angle is 52 degrees. So we don't know the hypotenuse. We can use trigonometric ratio SOHCAHTOA from TOA, tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So that's going to give us opposite, which is h, over adjacent, which is 40. So we have tan 52 is equal to h on 40. And 40 will equal to, and h will be equal to 40 times tan 52 degrees. So most of you are using calculators. What you have to first of all do, you don't have to use your calculator very well. First of all, look for tan 52 degrees, and to tan 52 degrees, what does the value give us? Let me punch on my own calculator and see. So tan 52 degrees gives us tan 52. Okay, so it gives us a value which we now multiply by 40, and we have the value of h. Now the next part is to find the angle of elevation of the top of the pole from another point M, which is 60 meters due south of PR. To find the angle of elevation of another point M, which is 60 meters due south of PR. So if I have to draw this point, you see that this other point like this is 60 meters in the direction. This is 60 meters, and this point is in which direction? Due south of PR. This angle is still 90 degrees. So at this point, I have to find this angle. So this angle here, if this angle is 52, then this angle will be 90 minus 52. And this one, since we don't know this other side also, we cannot also tell. So, but we know that this side is h, and this side is 60. So we can look at this angle theta. Let us call this angle theta. The angle theta here is going to give us the angle of elevation. So theta will be equal to, so we are not using this 90, okay? So theta here will be equal to opposite over adjacent. So we have tan theta. Tan theta here will be equal to the opposite side, which is h, but we have h to be 40 tan 52. Opposite over adjacent, which is 60. Oh, yes, thank you. 40, not 4. So this will give us 2/3 of tan 52. Okay. All right, so the first answer here, we have 40 times tan 52. We have, so that is 40 times tan 52. That was 51.2 degrees. So that gave us 51.2 meters. So here, equally, tan theta will be equal to 40 on 60. That is 2/3 times tan 52. So we have 2 on 3. So we have 40, that is 2 on 3 times that. And have a problem with calculator. That gives us 0.85. Whatever method you use, you are going to have the same answer. So this is equal to 0.853. Let me approximate to 33. And from here, theta will be equal to tan inverse of this value, tan inverse of 0.8533, and that will be equal to, so tan inverse of that, shift tan is the value. That gives us 40.47. So the angle of elevation is 40.47 degrees. So guys, please take notes of this correction. And I don't know, maybe the PDF form online might not have had these corrections yet at this time of this video. So let us take notes of that. Okay. So this is it. All right, the question 13 reads, question 13, the sum Sn of the first n terms of a certain sequence is given by Sn equals n into 2n plus 3. Find the first two terms. So the first term is the same as in bad English, the sum of the first one term, right? So the sum of the first term is just the first term. So that gives us 1 into 2 plus 3, which is 5. Now, T2, the second term should be equal to the sum of the first two terms minus the first term. That will give us 2 into 2 times 2, which is 4 plus 3. So we have 2 into 7, which is 14 minus 5 is 9. This is the second term. So we can first of all look for S2. Then S2 minus S1 is going to give us T2. Now, the sum of the first 8 terms, for us to find the sum of the first 8 terms, there is no need for us to go and be looking for that formula, that other formula that we have like that to get the common difference and so on. We can get the sum of the first 8 terms by putting 8 in this formula directly. So we have 8 into 2 times 8 plus 3, which is 152. Okay. Question 14. The probability that wisdom passes a test is 5 on 6, and the probability that triumph fails the same test is 2 on 7. Find the probability that triumph passes the test. So the probability that triumph passes the test should just be 1 minus the probability that it does not pass. Because the probability that triumph does not pass is 2 on 7. So 1 minus 2 on 7 is 5 on 7. And then B, the probability that one and only one person passes the test. So the probability that one and only one person passes the test. So the probability that only one person passes the test will be either the first person passes and the second fails, or the second fails and the second passes the test. So probability that the first person passes is 5 on 6 and the other person fails is 2 on 7. So probability that the first person fails is 1 on 6 and probability that the other person passes is 5 on 7. Why? This is because these are independent events. Okay. So these are the and then the or. So either the first pass and the second fails, or the second fails and the first fails and the second passes the test. So this is going to give us 15 on 42. 15 on 42. And the last question for section A, the table below shows the number of students who registered some subjects in June 2020 GCE ordinary level examinations in a certain school. Subjects: math, English, French, biology. The number of candidates: 40, 35, 30, and 15. Calculate the angle of each sector represented in the subject. So the angle of each sector is given by, first of all, we need to get the total frequency. The sum of all the candidates gives us the total frequency. That's going to be 120. Now, for the angle that's going to represent mathematics, it should be that fraction. You know that a pie chart has 360 degrees, right? So it's equivalent to 360 degrees. That will be equal to 40 as for maths on 120 students times 360 degrees. That gives us 120 degrees. English, that's 5 students on 120 students times 360. That gives us 105 degrees. French, 30 on 120 times 360. That gives us 90 degrees. And biology, 15 on 120 times that. So these are the angles that represent these sectors. Now, the B part, we should draw a Venn diagram from this. So you just have to use the angles that we have. You know that 90 degrees is a right angle. So this is French. 45 degrees is for biology. 105 degrees. You can use your compass to measure whatever and put, and the diagram will be like this. So this is the end of section A. Please just move to the next page and we continue with section B. Section B. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much. Let us look at section B.